Hey guys, welcome to Trades and Tropes, where I review a comic book trade or run to help you enter the world of comics. Or I'll talk about tropes for your education and entertainment. This week, I'll be reviewing a comic book trade. I am your host Cody, and let's get into the show. X-Men Blue is a very popular comic right now, so I'll be reviewing X-Men Season 1, The Origin of the X-Men. When most people think of the X-Men, they think of Wolverine or Storm, but did you know they weren't part of the original team? In fact, Professor Xavier originally recruited Scott Summers, Bobby Drake, Warren Worthington III, Hank McCoy, and Jean Grey, also known as Cyclops, Iceman, Angel, Beast, and Jean Grey. Okay, fine, she originally went as Marvel Girl, but that gets as many callbacks as Kitty Pryde going as Sprite. The original X-Men are actually very popular mutants, to the point where they're spread across so many comics. They have X-Men Blue that they all star in. Cyclops is also in Champions. The older version of Beast is in the Uncanny Inhumans. Jean Grey and Iceman even have their own series. X-Men Season 1 is a retelling of the Xavier School's first year, written by Dennis Hopeless. A modern origin in a graphic novel format, which means it has a clear beginning, middle, and end. It requires no previous knowledge of the Marvel Universe. You don't have to read anything before or after. Now, the Marvel Universe has what's called a sliding timescale, which means the original X-Men #1 took place in the 60s because that's when it was published. But the actual origin of the X-Men always takes place about 10 to 15 years before present day, which is why the characters don't really seem to age. We're introduced to the Institute through the eyes of Jean Grey, which is a smart move because she'll go on to become the heart of the X-Men. And it makes sense that she's the center of the drama because she's the only girl and there are 4 boys that she lives with. She always has the attention of the guys. She's a very outgoing girl. In fact, the first time she meets Scott, he bumps into her, knocks her over, and she even flirts with him. But he's awkward, so he just gets up and runs away. It's a pretty interesting meeting, and the writer knew where these characters are going, so I kind of wish that they put a little bit more into it. Warren's an interesting character. He's rich, popular, handsome, relaxed. He's the man who has everything. But he's ashamed of his physical deformity, being the angel wings on his back, which seems cool and makes amazing art, but in the real world, people would make fun of and judge you for. I always like the dynamic between he and Scott because Scott's the exact opposite of him. Scott's shy, antisocial, he's not good with girls, but Warren seems to be able to get anyone he wants. But they're still really good friends. Cyclops even points out that Warren is his best friend at one point. Hank gets the most hate because he's the only one who can't hide his mutation, despite the fact that he's not furry or blue yet. In fact, he's so mistreated, Beast actually loses faith in Xavier's dream and moves across town, severely depressing Iceman. Bobby's the biggest source of comedy in this book, and he looks like Justin Bieber, and a lot of fans complain about that, but he's an awkward teenage boy. He's supposed to be annoying. He looks up to the other guys, especially Beast, but also Cyclops whenever he sees how awesome he is in the Danger Room. And there's a funny scene where Cyclops is fighting, I think, ninja pirates or ninja zombie pirates or something, and Iceman's sad because he's going to be late. Finally, Scott's the least involved in the group since he's always shown to be in the Danger Room training. This pays off because he's always shown to be the best combatant. Puts so much focus into his training because he doesn't know how to interact with people, he can't socialize, and he doesn't convey his emotions very well. And if you had a gun pointing at the face of anyone you looked at, you'd have difficulty maintaining eye contact as well. There's actually a very heartwarming moment between Iceman and Cyclops. They spend a few sessions in the Danger Room training together, and then once it comes time to a real fight, Bobby actually is the one who asks Scott to lead the rest of the team. He has more faith in him than even his best friend Beast. And that's saying a lot. The morality of Professor Xavier is actually challenged from the very beginning. His best friend's a known terrorist, and he hides that from the X-Men. He even knows the location of Magneto's base, or as Bobby would call it, an evil lair, because all bad guys have to have an evil lair. Though it's really more of just an average loft. And much cleaner than you would think since Toad and Blob live there. Part of what makes this origin better than the original 60s version is that Magneto was just a generically evil villain with no dimensions, no depth whatsoever. It was retconned into being a sympathetic Jewish Holocaust survivor later on. But here Magneto's much more sympathetic from the start. He even tells Blob and Toad not to threaten Xavier as long as he's around. The dialogue all feels natural. They all feel like they can become who they're supposed to, and in fact, it actually feels a lot like X-Men Evolution, the cartoon on WB, I believe. And that was my favorite X-Men cartoon anyway, so... The comic builds to a beautiful climax where Magneto busts into the mansion, launches his helmet at Professor Xavier's head, attaches it to prevent him from using his telepathy to warn the others. He rips the wheelchair apart and manipulates it to chain Xavier to the wall in a Christ-like pose. He goes on to overpower each individual X-Men spread throughout the mansion. Seriously guys, Stan Lee's version does not stack up. This is a far superior comic. In fact, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Hit that little bell so you can receive notifications for every time we upload a new video. And if you really like this video, you can actually donate to our Patreon so we can continue bringing you fresh new content and we can put it out more often. If not, that's okay. I still appreciate you watching the whole video. And now you have no excuse not to, so go read some comics.